Hello, welcome to another Arty Mouse video. Today I'm going to give you some tips on how to improve your artwork really quickly, because I want to give you the tools to get rid of all those little frustrations you get when you're just starting out. I've been teaching art for 20 odd years and painting and drawing for as long as I can remember, and I've seen a multitude of small errors over the years that are really easy to fix. So today I'm going to give you a little list of things that you can do to improve things really fast that are going to make a real difference to your practice. You'll be able to leap ahead much faster than you would on your own.
Sometimes you concentrate on a particular part of a drawing, and when you stand back you realise that you've far surpassed your expectations of yourself. Wow, you think, that squirrel's tail looks really fluffy. Maybe the eye you've drawn really jumps out of the page. But then you look at it again and realise that it's in slightly the wrong place on the page. So what do? My art teacher at college was ruthless. But she was, infuriatingly, also always right. Get rid of it, she'd say. Don't get precious. If it's wrong, it's wrong. We'd cry and beg and she would be entirely unmoved. So we'd erase it and start again. I'm afraid she was correct. It doesn't matter how good it is. If it's in the wrong place, it has got to go. And it's heartbreaking. But ultimately, the drawing as a whole will be unbalanced and wrong if you keep it. So don't get precious and start again. We all have things we're good at and things we're not. It stands to reason nobody's perfect and nobody's the same. What a boring place the world would be if we were. However, when you look at someone's body of work, it can be obvious what they favour when drawing. Maybe it's portraits, maybe it's horses, maybe it's geometric imagery. But eventually it can become obvious what that artist is avoiding too. Maybe it's hands. Every piece of work you see has a figure, but that figure always has his hands in his pockets, or they've been cropped conveniently out of the picture, or they're a vague scribble. They give an impression of a hand, but it isn't really there. Once you notice things like this, it's hard to unsee them. Perhaps that foot has a crop of grass in front of it. Maybe a hairstyle always covers the ears. Avoidance can be amusing once you notice it, but it also makes me quite sad. It means someone's lost their bottle or given up because something didn't go right. This avoidance can become a habit, and then it becomes dangerous in terms of your development as an artist, because fear can creep in and you become convinced that you can't do something. The solution, of course, is to jump in with both feet. Now, as someone once said to me, don't just let someone grab the back of your jacket and just throw you in the pool, but you must keep trying. Find references to copy, take photos, and note down common characteristics to break things down into geometric shapes and mapping lines. But don't run away from things. They'll invariably come back and bite you when you least expect it.
Have you ever heard the following conversation? Oh, hey, this is my new drawing. What do you think? Oh yeah, that's really cool. Well done. Yeah, I think the head's a bit too small though. Maybe? Oh, no, that's just my style. Okay. I'm going to have a bit of a rant now, so my apologies in advance. But there is no such thing as your style. I don't have a style. I've been doing this for years. It's an excuse that people use. If you were going to make something too small or too big on purpose, you'd have done it throughout the drawing and it would have balance. If you've got something wrong, don't make excuses for it by saying it's my style. Please. If something didn't turn out the way you intended, you need to go back to it, you need to work on it, you need to develop it until you are happy with it. I don't want anybody to have to make excuses for what they've done. I want you to be incredibly proud of what you do rather than make apologies for it. Because in your heart you'll know that you're not proud of it. And that's a rubbish feeling. So keep working on things. If the way you're drawing and calling it your style is a way of avoiding your weaknesses, then you need to go back to that other point I just made. But work on things, make sure you're proud of them, and don't make excuses for it.
How many times have you drawn something and found that you run out of page? You suddenly know that you won't fit the feet in. So what do? Either you keep going and let the drawing fall off the end of the paper, or you can add more paper so that you can keep going. Or you make the big beginner's mistake. You change the proportions and squeeze those feet in by making the legs shorter. You squish things and make them fit like trying to put a hippo in a mini. But it won't work. Nobody needs it, and in the end, nobody's happy. To avoid this happening, the easiest solution is forward planning. Don't just start. Think about what you want to get into the picture. Draw out some construction lines and plan your layout. Think about the big picture, not the details. Draw yourself a map. You wouldn't go to a new city without planning your route, or make a meal without thinking about whether you have the ingredients first, and drawing's no different. Measure up and make sure it'll fit first. And there's an Artie Mouse film about proportion and layout if you want to look into this further. Now, I've got a question for you. Are you a cartoon? When you look in the mirror, are you made of flat colour with a black outline like Mickey Mouse? No? Me either. If you're trying to draw in a realistic style, then don't outline things. If you're being stylistic, of course, then go forth and outline things with my blessing. But if you are drawing with realism in mind, then you need to consider how to create the illusion of depth in your work without resorting to outlining. It's a common thing for beginners to do because they haven't gained the skills to shade properly yet. It's fine if that's you, everybody starts somewhere, but the trick to this is to really work on your value studies. Look at tones and the differences between them. Ultimately, it's about considering light. Shading is about the level of light falling on something, and each object has a different value because of its relationship with the light in the room. Try drawing groups of simple objects with no detail. White objects are good for this because you won't be distracted by the colours. Again, I've already done a full video on this, so follow the link on my main page if you want to look at it more closely. Tracing is your enemy. It can be justified if you're experimenting with shading or colour or new equipment. In the past, I've instructed students to copy their own drawings and colour them in different ways in order to experiment before tackling their final outcome, which is akin to tracing. However, they are in this case tracing their own work, which is technically acceptable. Now, I don't sit here in an ivory tower telling you what to do. There are no right or wrong answers in art. I'm not saying don't do this because it's cheating. I say this because the only person being cheated is you. It's like never taking the training wheels off the bike. You won't learn to ride a bike unless you have a go with 2 wheels instead of 4 and crash about for a while you balance yourself. Not only will you not learn anything by tracing things, but any tutor will be able to spot it a mile away. Trust me, there are things about it that make a tracer glaringly obvious to us art teachers. And if people praise your work, it will be false praise, because what you've done isn't yours. So do your research, take the time and develop your skills. Take the baby steps you need. You'll fall over, get scared, mess it up, but in the end you'll be so proud of a drawing that you did all on your own. And any praise you receive will be wonderful, real. When you're just starting out with drawing and painting, it's easy to get frustrated. You have an idea in your head of this perfect picture. You know what you want it to look like, but getting it from your imagination to the page can be a struggle sometimes. The trick to this translation is not to get confused by all the details. Details come at the end. Take each picture and chop it into stages. Map out how the composition fits on the page. Draw your geometric shapes and basic lines. Then block in lighter and darker areas. If painting, do an underpainting, a simple version to test out colours and give the picture layers. Flesh out the colours to create depth. All this needs to be done before you even think about the features or fingers or fur. It's the foundation of a piece and it can't be skipped. So give your work some time and patience and pace yourself.
The biggest mistake you can make when you're just starting out with drawing is to be jealous. The grass is always greener on the other side, someone is always better than you. You look on Facebook, Instagram, wherever, and you see all these people that are absolutely amazing. There is always going to be someone who's better than you, better than me, better than anyone. But so what? Why does this matter? I have people that I admire. I look at their work and I think, how on earth did you manage that? That's incredible. I'll never be that good. But I'm not jealous. I just think of it as a goal. That's something for me to shoot for. Because I know if I work really hard, I'll be that good one day. And then when I am that good, there'll still be someone else who's way out and much better than me. Again, there's always going to be someone who's better than you. So use that person on your journey to get better and give yourself something to shoot for. You need to have a yardstick for your own journey, not worry about it, and just go out there and keep drawing, and you can do this. You can prove this to yourself.
Lots of things in our lives contain circles. Look around yourself right now. I bet you can see at least 5. When you draw something that contains a circle, it often becomes an ellipse. Ovals on the tops of teacups, for example. A common mistake that beginners make is to get these ellipses wrong. They're off-centre, or a pet hate of mine, people give them corners. If it's technically a circle, it won't have sharp corners at all, anywhere. So make sure you measure out your ellipses to keep the widest parts level at the top and bottom and the left and right. And make sure you curve your thinnest edges, everyone, or I'll set Joyce on you again. I've spoken in a previous film about this. If you use the wrong pencils when you draw, you can inadvertently mess up your work. Hard pencils require you to press harder on the paper, and if you want to erase a mistake, you've left a groove in the paper which you can't remove. Shade over that groove and the line you made will still be visible. The trick to this is pressure, and there are 2 really easy ways to fix it. The first is to pay attention to the pencils you're using. Don't use any pencil with an H in the value, these are for writing and technical drawing. Use B pencils because the lead is softer and you won't have to press as hard to get a darker mark. The second way is air drawing. Draw slightly above the paper to give yourself an assurance that you're drawing in the correct place before you make any mark on the paper. Never press hard, you will regret it. Use your whole arm when you draw, don't make scratchy little marks that will indent the paper. Be brave and make sweeping marks in a quiet, cautious way. There's nothing worse than knowing you have a good piece of work, but you can still see the ghosts of all the mistakes you made while working on it.
So these things are lots of little tips to fix the things that frustrate you when you are a beginner. I really hope that I've been helpful to you today. If I have, then put something in the comments below. If you want to ask me something, what is your biggest frustration with your painting and drawing at the moment? Put something in the comments or talk to me on Instagram or Facebook. I do my best to answer every single question. I do read everything that's sent to me, so don't be afraid, send me something. And I do love helping you guys. I'll see you soon.